Radio Suffolk. It is a Thursday. Now, you know what that means, don't you? On a Thursday, we like to talk about all things technical, right? There's only one man we turn to for that kind of caper. He is the Gadget man, Matt Porter of Matt Porter Web Designs. Hence the cheesy intro. Hello, Matt. Welcome back.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Oh, bit of delay today. First of all, Matt, just want to throw this one at you. The surface of the sun has been revealed in some startling detail in the last day or so, and it looks pretty much like a cornflake.
It's amazing, isn't it? I think that the was it 23 miles across they can now measure. Yeah. That close, and it was, I think, it was kind of like a dried orange or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a honeycomb sort of affair, wasn't it? Yeah, it was quite amazing.
Yeah, and each one of those honeycombs you could fit Texas into, apparently. So it was pretty amazing. I think that the sun is obviously, we rely on it completely for our existence, and it's. You know, it's an amazing thing that we can't study because it's so bright.
It is so bright. It's so incredibly hot, of course. We can't get near it, but we're getting nearer as the years go by. And this is an incredible imagery they've now released where it looks pretty much like a bright cornflake. But anyway, you can look at that yourself. Several things to talk about. First of all, Matt, BT. And for those on BT Internet with a certain router, possible shock on the way.
Yes, I think that there is an issue at the moment with our e-waste, let alone our normal waste that we produce, but our electronic waste in the form of mobile phones that go out of date, that end up in drawers and things like that. Not such a big problem if they end up in your drawer, but if they get thrown out, then they become e-waste, and it's very difficult to recycle them and very difficult to they end up in landfills. And the same really applies with broadband routers. As broadband has improved over the years, we now, rather than just going to a new service and using an existing router, we kind of get almost a bit of sales pressure to have a router from the supplier. And what BT have said now is, I believe, is that if they send you a new router and you don't send back your old one to them to be disposed of properly, they will levy a charge on you.
Oh, so this is, what is this, a way of encouraging some sort of recycling? What is this for? What's the purpose behind it?
Well, I think the idea is that if the router goes back to the supplier, then they are set up and enabled to ensure that that waste, if it is waste, is disposed of appropriately, or even it could be refurbished, or components could be taken from those devices and used again, or whatever. You know, it's basically to encourage people to be more mindful of what's happening to their products when they I've got a garage. I honestly got a garage with at least two big plastic containers full of power adapters. Yeah, myself.
I think I've got a similar.
That's just power adapters.
Yeah. What disappointing thing about so-called e-waste is that I guess people, like many people, would love to just be able to get them to bits and fix the one little thing that's gone wrong, and it's back to perfect. We don't. We just throw them out, or you can't get into them.
I actually have a customer who does repair and refurbish that kind of waste, such as mobile phones and tablets. So they do it, and that's one of their kind of unique points, is that they will refurbish, and if they get two phones, one's got a damaged screen, one's got a damaged back, then they will
make good,
turn that into a completely perfectly working phone. So I think it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult to service these items. I tried to replace a screen on an iPad the other day, and I was very, very full of gusto, thought it was going to be very, very easy, watched a video on YouTube, and I did do it, and then when I switched it on, it was completely wrecked. So it's just so delicate. The LCD screen was completely wrecked.
Really good point, though, Matt, is that manufacturers are not allowed. They'd rather us go and buy a new item, and I get that, but they're not allowing us into these devices, and Apple products are a very good example. They're incredibly difficult for the man in the street to fix.
Yeah, they're generally stuck together with glue that then you have to heat the device up to quite a high temperature in order to break the glue. You get inside, the screws are just microscopic.
Yeah.
They're tiny, tiny screws. They're generally next to a magnet. So the moment you take them out, they get pinged over and attached to a magnet. It's very difficult to service these items. Yeah. There are companies that will do it. You know, I've broken mobile phones. I'm sure many of us have, and they go off in insurance and they get repaired. It is possible to do it, but it's not easy for the man on the street to do it. Exactly. With regard to these broadband routers, yes, I'm sure many of us have got these sitting in drawers, or worse still, they've been thrown out at some point during a clear out, and they should be. You know, the components within them, you know, the chemicals and things like that are in them, if they were to seep into the ground, are not great. So it is important these things are returned. I think, to be fair, that if you get sent a router by anybody, any one of these providers, they should have a paid label on that box, so you can stick the old one back in and post it back to them straight away and make it very straightforward. I think that would be quite a good idea if that's what we're trying to encourage. All
right, well, we'll be back in just a moment with Matt as we ask the question, why should we care about Hauwei and 5G? Matt Porter from Matt Porter Web Design, the gadget man on the show with us today. And finally, Matt, the ongoing 5G debate and Huawei. Now, why should we care about this story?
I think we should care about how we pronounce it.
Oh, I don't know. I've asked several people today.
It's Huawei.
Huawei. I'm going to write that down because I don't know.
Okay, or Huawei, but it's actually Huawei. I know that because my office used to be next door to them in Adastral Park.
Oh,
so I had many conversations with them. Yeah,
okay. But this 5G debacle, and you know, there's a trust issue with China. What's going on there, Matt?
Well, there is a political issue with China, it would appear, with at a political level, really, about whether or not a country which is perhaps considered almost like a Cold War adversary, because the country has a completely different ethos than perhaps some countries in the West have, that they may be embedding technology in their gadgets and their equipment, which will perhaps allow the Chinese state perhaps to access that equipment, and by having that equipment from a suspicious entity at the center of your mobile communications network could be seen as perhaps a security risk.
Well, I remember when this story went round, and you will know this as a drone flyer as well, Matt, about Chinese drones evidently sending pictures back to headquarters. So it was a form of spying without spies. I don't know how true that rumour actually is.
Well, I think that if you fly, I fly a DJI drone, and I have an account with them, and I can go and look at my flight logs, which I assume sit on DJI servers wherever they might be, possibly in China, and there may be odd photographs on there to remind me of that particular mission, if you like. So. This is data which could be argued to be legitimately sitting on a supplier's server and providing us a service. It doesn't necessarily mean it's there for the government of that country to start trawling through it and find that you've left your back door open or something and break in.
Yeah.
Interestingly, in the last couple of days, DJI have actually been in the United States. The Department of Interior have actually banned the use of their drones for their purposes completely. They've grounded them due to their concerns. And I think DJI have stated in a press release saying, look, we've provided you these drones. We even provided you with a special version of this drone, which is completely disconnected from any of our servers, and we also had them independently verified that they were safe. So I wonder sometimes whether there is more than just a concern of security behind this, whether or not it's a political ideology of getting a particular country to manufacture these things themselves, and thus driving the competition out of the market. It's difficult to know, really, but it's obviously a concern. Like we say, Huawei have been in the UK for a long time. Like I said, my office was next door to one of their offices, and that was one of the offices, I believe, that we're working with BT and EE and people like that. They all work together to develop these technologies.
I've got a Huawei watch. Is it watching me? Is it listening to me?
Well, funnily enough, I had a Huawei watch to review a few years ago, and I actually walked down the corridor and I said to them, "Can you give me some help with this?" And they just looked at me like I was from another planet, like this is nothing to do with us at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry. So no, I don't think we've got any concerns regarding things like that. Not major concerns, we just have to be careful, I think. But I think that there is obviously having I don't know. It's difficult to say, really, James, whether or not there's
it's
danger
easy
or not.
to think everybody's watching us and listening to that. You can get yourself into a bit of a state by thinking that all the time, can't you, in fairness?
Exactly, yeah.
Matt Porter, the Gadget Man, always a pleasure. We'll speak to you next week, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye. Oh dear. So, what I normally do, because I panic that the stream's on iPlayer and you can live stream and you can also rewind, but once the show ends it then gets archived onto a permanent stream and then it isn't available for an hour, and I like to try and get this sort of sorted out as soon as possible. So what I'll do now is go and grab the stream and take a copy of it, and then I can use that for the soundtrack for this video. Like, I've recorded the microphone that I've been talking to James with separately, but generally over FaceTime, unless there's a major delay, the quality's just as good, or it's negligibly different. So it's pointless having two streams and combining them when the sound quality's not that different. So the stream's live at the moment. So when I'm recording the stream, I put it onto a thing called Soundflower, which allows me to record directly from an audio input without going through too many steps. So I found a place where so I would probably record up to just near 12 o'clock, and I have to remove the traffic report out of it as well. But I now set the sound output to Soundflower, and I'm recording from Soundflower, so it would just be recording direct, and I just have to make sure that the volume's turned right up so I get the best feed. And if I go back to here, start recording and then press play, although I can't hear it, I can see from the monitor that it's recording, so I'll just leave it there for 10 minutes and then come back, and then I can edit the resulting stream, because there'll be a lead in at the front and there'll probably be some music at the back, and in this case there's a traffic report in the middle. I'll probably edit that out as well.